across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good evening to you this Wednesday evening. It's practically the end of July. Just to remind you, you've got until tomorrow to pay your tax bill. Just wanted to remind you of that. You get a £100 fine if you miss it. Anyway, just thought I'd say that. But look, coming up on this programme, we are going to be at midnight talking about if you have plans to leave the country. And the reason I want to talk about this is because there's an excellent piece, I think it's in the Telegraph, talking about more than half of young people have considered leaving Britain. We have roughly around 500,000 people permanently leaving Britain every year. This comes from the net migration figures. So we have about 941,000 that came in last year and 513,000 that left. So people are leaving. They are choosing to leave Britain. So I want to know if you are thinking about leaving Britain, if you would leave Britain, but it's too late, maybe you're too old or you can't think of a country you'd like to go to. If you have considered, what country would you go to? I have thought about this. I'm not about leaving. I mean, look, I used to travel a lot, all the time. In fact, I travel around the world. It took me 2 years to do it. I did that at one point. Then with my work as a reporter, I was all over the world all the time. I was barely home. And so I like being home. That's my thing now. I think it was Billy Connolly who once said that travelling narrows the mind. And it certainly has with me, because I've travelled to a lot of countries and I still prefer this one. But if I was 20, 30 years younger, I might consider Canada. So I want to know which country you would move to. If you have moved out of the country, some people have gone to Australia, hated it and come back, or they've gone to America, realised that the health system isn't there and come back. So have you left this country and come back? Are you considering leaving the country? And if you would leave the country, where would you go and why would you leave? So give me a call, 0344 499 1000. You can message me as well, put the word talk up front and then send your message to 87222. And you can also WhatsApp on that number or leave a short voice note, 0344 499 1000. So I really look forward to hearing your stories about where you go. Maybe you went over and lived to live in Spain and then you had to come back because of Brexit, or I don't know, hundreds of reasons you might want to go and 100 reasons why you might want to come back, I think. So that's what we're going to be talking about at midnight, and I look forward to chatting with you then. Or we've got the fabulous John Boothman. He's up in Scotland, political correspondent at the Sunday Times in Scotland. He's going to be joining us to talk through the papers for Thursday, and I know he's a favourite of many of you. He certainly is a favourite of mine. I think he's great. Adam French will be joining us to talk money. We don't talk about money, do we, in this country? But this is talking about spending money and holiday money abroad, free, tax-free childcare, all of those kind of things that might interest you. Rhea Freeman joins me as well, author of PR social media expert, talking about some of the disasters and some of the wins of this last few weeks or so. That's going to be really interesting, because you're going to talk about, you know, that Jet 2 holiday song that gets in worm in your brain? Well, the person who's written that is really upset with how it's being used. And I saw how it was being used today, and I did do a sharp intake of breath, and I thought to myself, crikey, if I'd written that, I wouldn't be very happy with how it's being used. So we'll be discussing that with Rhea as well. But first, it's everywhere at the moment. We're talking about it all the time. Every newspaper, papers carrying photographs of starving children. We talk about famine a lot. But what is it? What is it really? And as Kevin was just saying, it is something that has to be declared. It has to fulfil a certain set of criteria to begin with, and then that data has to be provided. So if the country doesn't provide the data, it cannot officially be declared as a famine. So when a country says there is no famine, they're right in words, because it hasn't been declared as famine. Ethiopia used the same argument, or the same lack of data, so that they didn't have to declare a famine. Countries do this because it is clearly a very serious situation, which then the world would have to deal with if there were a famine declared. But I want to talk about this because we are seeing these pictures in Gaza, but I want to talk about this from a humanitarian point of view, from a scientific point of view. I think this story has gone beyond politics, and some people are so entrenched in their political beliefs on both sides that it serves nobody, and it certainly does not serve the people who are starving to death. Whichever side of politics you're on this, surely nobody with a heartbeat can look at the images that we're seeing, and it's not just babies, but look at those images and go, well, there's a political justification for that. Because if you do think that, you and I will probably never sit down to have a cup of tea together. There is no justification. And I speak of somebody, actually, I just want to point this out. I speak of somebody who's saying, oh, what do you know? You're sitting in London. Yeah, I am at the moment, but I did cover the famine in Somalia when that was happening. So I have been on the ground and seen the impact of starvation. And I've reported on it. And I work with the United Nations on it. And I work with the Americans and the British when they were trying to fly food into near the borders of Ethiopia. So it doesn't make me an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it does mean that I have seen it firsthand. Somebody who sees it firsthand all of the time is my guest now, Asif Hussain, who's founder and CEO of SKT Welfare. It's a humanitarian group working in Gaza, who has seen and does see this firsthand. Asif, thank you very much indeed for joining me. What is famine? What does famine look like?
Good evening to everyone first. Thank you for having me on. This isn't really a debate about definition as such. This is about death from hunger. And as you've mentioned, you've seen it yourself. And as humanitarians, unfortunately, we're seeing it on a daily basis in Gaza, where people are dying. I mean, why do we need a definition? And there's an IPC standard framework, which we'll come into in a minute, that defines what famine is. Ultimately, this is about people dying of hunger. And this is forced starvation, stopping it, going into a war zone. This is a man-made famine, by the way. We're calling it a famine, although we could argue that the IPC regulation, only two of the conditions that are stated, one of which is 20% of households need to face extreme food shortages. Well, that's 39% in Gaza. The second is 30% of children are acutely malnourished. Well, 1 in 5 are, way above that threshold. The only real threshold that hasn't been met is the one in regards to 2 out of every 10,000 people must die, or 4 children, 2 adults rather, or 4 children out of every 10,000. But that's just a statistic. I mean, we've seen the images on our TV screens and our social media screens. How horrific are they? Skeletons. Children looking like skeletons, and children, fortunately, are the ones that suffer the most as a result of this. So having a discussion about famine is all fine, it's all very academic, but ultimately it does not describe the reality on the ground, which is people are dying. as a result of forced starvation.
Yeah, I merely sought to inform people this is why it's not officially being called a famine, not that I don't recognise it as such. But I think it's really interesting. Words have power, right? And it's really important that people go, well, you know, they're saying it's not famine, so it's not famine. But it is the word famine and the classification of the word famine rather than what is actually happening on the ground. That's what I was really seeking to do. I want to get to another point about starvation. And that is, often you do see the children are first. We see these images of children. Why is it that children suffer with starvation so quickly and so desperately?
Well, children are always, as you mentioned rightly, are the primary. I mean, toddlers that are breastfed. So if their mothers aren't producing the best breast milk that they need or the quality of the breast milk, children are going to suffer. So we're talking about children up to the age of 2 that are being breastfed and being mothered are unfortunately not going to have that because the mother's not producing the milk. Secondly, it's really about the survival of the fittest. And we've seen parents lining up. Many have been unfortunate who have been shot and killed. So we have so many orphans in Gaza right now where they don't have parents to look after.
The images we're seeing, though, again, many people are suggesting that this is another kind of illness. This is not.
Regards to when there's the survival of the fittest.
I'm sorry, I think we've got a connection problem.
Sorry, yeah, okay. I missed the last bit. Sorry, just repeat yourself for that.
I was just saying that there are suggestions that these images have been exaggerated, or these children are suffering from other forms of childhood illness.
Our team's on the ground, and we've been in Gaza, SKT Welfare House, since 2014. We support a lot of the hospitals. Al-Aqsa Hospital is one of them, which was recently bombed and has been bombed out throughout there. So we are talking to health experts on the grounds. We are talking to nutrition experts on the ground who are seeing children, who are treating these people, adults and the children, and that they are saying that this is as a direct result of malnutrition. We haven't seen this prior to this war. Not to this scale. Like you've said, we've seen images similar to this in Ethiopia, in Kenya, and other places where this is very similar to that. This is not a disease as such. What we're seeing here is very clearly as a direct result of children going hungry, unable to eat enough food to stay alive. And we're hearing that a lot, even our teams are saying that people are having to eat one meal every 48 hours. Now, we all know, and we use the metric that we use is 2,100 calories every single day. An adult should have, a healthy adult should eat in order to.
So we've got a very poor connection there. Can we get him back? We're just working on getting Asif back to continue the discussion on the issue of many people are calling it famine, even without. Sorry, he's back. Even without that technical clarification. Asif, I think we've got you back now. The other thing that I've heard as an argument, which absolutely makes my head spin, is that, well, the women look healthy, they look chubby. One of my colleagues referred to as the women looking chubby, and suggesting that she gave some of her food to her children.
So the comment that you referred to was actually made on Israeli TV yesterday, where the news anchor was laughing at a mother holding a skeleton of a child. You could see that the child's ribs from the video shot itself, and then making really nasty remarks in regards to saying that the mother looks fine, and she didn't, and that was the truth. She didn't look fine, and she had her clothes on, so we can't really see what she looks like underneath, how malnourished she is. Women traditionally wear the Islamic garb, so it's very difficult to see how they look underneath that. Whereas with children, those that are without clothes, it's very obvious with the men, with the elderly, the frail. You can see how malnourished they are just by simply looking at the fact that they're walking around in skeletons. We've seen images of a father walking 12 kilometers, carrying back one bag of flour yesterday. And literally, by the time he got back to his tent, he collapsed on top of the bag of flour because it was, out of sheer exhaustion. And you could see that all he had was just his frame, his body frame. There was no fat on him at all. And this is the whole point, that it's becoming political, and using it as satire as such is actually extremely dangerous and very unhumanitarian. What we're seeing in Gaza is something beyond comprehension. I don't think we've...
Yeah, he's gone again. I'm afraid that is a problem, isn't it, to try and talk to somebody who's far away. Are we going to be able to manage to get him back, or let's see if we can get him back. This is such an important a story. Let me tell you that the worst... right, we're back again. Asif, I'm so sorry. We've obviously got some real technical problems that are happening. So you're on the ground there. You're seeing the effects of this. How long would it take to fix this? So, because we're talking about aid is now being airdropped in. It's not the most efficient way of doing it. Everybody who's ever covered a story like this will know that that's the truth of it. It can also be dangerous. It lands in the wrong place, that people are too scared to go and get it. It's not efficient. So we need lorry loads and lorry loads and lorry loads. How long does it take of food consistently going into the area to abate this crisis?
So we currently need, any human being needs 2,100 kilocalories per day. That's what they need. What we have right now is, so at 1,200 kilocalories, you're seriously deficient. That means that you're not putting back, restoring the energy that you've used for that particular day. Currently, every person in Gaza is receiving something like 500 to 700 kilocalories per day. So they are malnourished. We know that. That's from the data. What we need right now is unfettered access. So the food is available in Egypt, in Jordan. It's already been loaded onto trucks, ready to go into Gaza. The problem is the Israeli government isn't allowing enough aid in. With a lot of pressure, yesterday 73 trucks were allowed in. We need 1,000 trucks a day for a whole month.
Wow.
just to bring back the energy levels of these people, to save off this starvation. But that's only food. Medicines needed, water filtration, purification equipment is needed. So people, so they can avoid these waterborne diseases. We can stop these people from dying from starvation, dying from hunger ultimately.
I just have to say at this point, because we don't have an Israeli representative, that they would argue that that is not true. They would argue that they are willing to get the food in, that the food's available, and it keeps being stolen, or they're worried about it going to Hamas or being used by their enemy. And not that I'm defending that position, but I'm just saying that is indeed what somebody would say if they were here. So it's more likely, though, the level of food. This is again, I just want people to understand what it's going to take, how long it's going to take for this situation to just be evened out.
62,000 tons of food is needed every month for at least the next month.
Again, I think we've lost him again. I'm going to say goodbye, Asif. Thank you very much indeed. It's when you're in Gaza, I guess that the broadband is probably not as good as you might want it to be. Yes, I'll take. Actually, sorry about this. I will take him on audio only, and I apologise to our viewers for this. Asif, just to round off, if you could repeat that number. So you're talking about 62 tons of food every day for how long?
So 62,000 tons is required per month. So that's around 1,000 truckloads of food every single day for a whole month. That's what's needed. So where our estimates suggest around 1,000 trucks a day. Now, the pre-war agreement with Egypt was that 600 trucks would be allowed in. 600 permits were issued. That meant that 600 trucks were allowed into the Gaza Strip. But because of the current situation with the starvation, with what we've seen, around 1,000 trucks of aid are needed every single day, including medicine, including water filtration equipment, water purification equipment, and the complex drugs that are needed to treat many of the varying injuries and disabilities that have been caused as a result of the war, as a result of bombs dropping on these tents. So our estimates are 62,000 tons per month for at least a year before we're in a position to say, now we're fighting the famine. We're in a position where it's definitely gone away.
And I was just reading earlier on a mother saying that she and her family have not eaten fresh food for months. No vegetables, no fruit, just maybe tinned food or packaged food that in some cases is out of date. So even when they are fed, it's not the sort of food that we would want to be eating.
So you're absolutely right. So all the arable land, which was very little because Gaza is so densely populated that they have to build these high-rise flats to live on there pre-war, they've all been now destroyed. All the arable lands has finished. They've grown what they could. I mean, the rest of it's been bulldozed over. And that's, we've seen that deliberately happen. So they're not able to do that. And they're more reliant. This is when we say this is forced starvation. And it's being done by every single angle, including destroying arable land. So the only alternative left is to bring aid into Gaza. And so the trucks are effectively saving these lives. And this is why we've been, for over a year now, putting pressure on the Israeli governments, on our own governments, to allow more food aid in, because Gaza, the people of Gaza, the 2 million people, are reliant only upon these trucks going in. And prior to that, it was 600 trucks a day. That was the agreed amount. Now it's 1,000. 1,000 a day is needed for at least the next year or so for us to be in a position that we're able to help these people.
Asif, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your patience with the connection that we had as well. Asif Hussain, founder and CEO of SKT Welfare, humanitarian group working currently in Gaza. Quick break, back in a second.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Indeed, it is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you. Just a little bit of breaking news. Mark Carney has confirmed that Canada plans also to recognise the state of Palestine. That means that they are in support of a two-state solution. This is not going to be good news for Israel, so expect some backlash from Benjamin Netanyahu. But right now, I'm going to tell you about a competition. Coldplay are back at Wembley this summer, and we've got a huge VIP prize up for grabs for one lucky listener. We're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality. Plus, we're chucking in 10 grand on top of that as well, completely tax-free. Here's everything you need to know.
10k for Coldplay. Play 10k cash for Coldplay with 10 grand in your hand tax-free plus 6 super hot tickets to witness Coldplay's sold-out Music of the Spheres tour from a VIP box at Wembley Stadium on August 22nd. Tickets, top tunes and 10 grand cash. Don't panic. Enter to play 10k for Coldplay at talksport.com/win and get ready for the feel-good gig of the summer for you and 5 mates. 10k for Coldplay is a joint TalkSport Limited competition run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
10k cash for Coldplay.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Wembley to 83338 by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or send your name and number by post to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a TalkSport Limited promotion run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com/win.
Just don't forget the kiss cam, all right? That is the warning that goes with that. That's it. A huge prize up for grabs, 10 grand. That's all right, isn't it? And Coldplay VIP tickets. For more information, head to talksport.com/win, and the very best of luck to you. Right, coming up at midnight, it is our phone-in. And what I want to ask you at midnight is, have you ever thought of leaving Britain? Emigrating, just getting out, going to a different country, starting again, having a whole new life. Where is it that you plan to go? Where is it that you wanted to go to start a new life? Perhaps you went and came back. Perhaps you're there now. I know we have a lot of international listeners, so if you're a Brit abroad, give me a ring. Tell me what drove you out of the UK, what made you want to go to the country you're currently in, and whether you've ever regretted it. Is there anything you miss about Britain? Is there anything that you think, well, if I could have that as well, I'd be absolutely perfect? And if you're at the meantime, looking around the world and thinking, where would I like to go? Where do you think would be the best place to go and live right now? Honestly, for me, I reckon it's probably got to be Canada. But I don't know. You tell me. Maybe you've gone somewhere that's absolutely perfect for you and you wouldn't dream of coming back. Or you are just sitting there dreaming of leaving and never seeing Britain ever again. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we do call you straight back, so it won't cost you very much. And you can send a message if you want to 87222, put the word up front and then send your message. So that's all at midnight. Give me a call.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, you're on Talk right now, and it's Petrie here. Let me remind you what's coming up. We're doing some chatting about money that you might want to be listening to with Adam French at the top of the hour, and then John Boothman is with us to go through Thursday's newspapers, and then of course it is the phone-in. But first, let's have a chat about PR wins and disasters with Ria Freeman, who is author author, PR and social media expert. Ria, good to see you. Thank you for joining me. I've just actually been talking about a Coldplay competition that we've got going at the moment, and I did warn them about the kiss cam because the man that was caught with his arms around his let's say it delicately, side piece, worked for a company called Astronomer, and they've managed to push back in a really clever way.
Very much so. So they completely dominated a lot of the news, and he did the CEO, the person that he was seen with, and all the sort of fallout from that. And I know they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but I think when your CEO and a member of your team are dragged across the press for having an affair, it's never great. But what they've done very recently, well, this week, is they've released a video with Gwyneth Paltrow kind of answering some of the most common questions. And it's great because it starts going up on the screen with, what the actual, she says yes, and then she talks about the company and talks about what they're doing, and it's really, really cleverly done. And I think a very good way to push back and use the spotlight that has been shone on the company to actually help to promote what it really does. And
also, of course, those who don't know, she used to be married to Chris Martin, who is the lead singer of Coldplay, who was the one that went, oh, they're either having an affair or they're really shy. So to get Chris Martin's ex-wife, Gwyneth Paltrow, to head up this campaign, that is a stroke of genius.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gone everywhere. It's been not as popular as the original video, but it has been incredibly popular. I mean, I do feel for Chris Martin. I love Coldplay anyway, but I really do feel for him, because it's that kind of comment that you'd say as a kind of, obviously won't be this.
Yes, of course. It was. And now he's putting out a warning to say to anybody that goes to his concert, don't just the camera is there, and it might catch you. And very cleverly, there's been another couple of bands who have done the opposite and said, bring your side pieces to our concert, we don't do kiss cams. So there's been a
way of doing it.
But there's been, I mean, what I'm saying is this is a spin-off sort of PR thing that a lot of people are latching onto, because this just went completely bonkers. And everybody's saying if this couple had just waved, no one would have noticed. No one would have thought anything of it. It was their reaction to being caught that caught them out.
I mean, throwing yourself to the floor when the kiss cam comes on you is just not the one. Or having a display of affection in a public place, still in front of thousands of people, with someone that isn't your wife or partner. Yeah. Not the one.
No, especially when you're with your work colleagues, because they both work for the same company, and all of those work colleagues, I wouldn't trust my work colleagues with a secret like that. I wouldn't expect them to either.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. And obviously, I imagine it put a lot of people in a very difficult position. So, not good.
Not a good day at the office. Neither is this one, really. I watched this today, and my first thought was, if I'd written that song, I would be really unhappy with the association that the White House has placed with it. So talk me through what's happened.
Well, I have to say, when it came over my WhatsApp, I thought, this is clearly a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's so wild. And so it's the White House's, I don't want to say Twitter, but we'll say an X account. X just still seems weird to me. And they have put the Jet2 track, which is one that has been used on so many bits of incredibly funny viral content. Where it's been used on social media is when someone's, something's happened which is quite funny. So perhaps, you see people on a beautiful beach and then a wave knocks them over or something like that. So funny, light-hearted, with the Jet2 holiday jingle that we all know. What the White House have done, and what their account has done, is they've used that over a video of people being told to leave the country and put onto an aeroplane.
Handcuffed, forcibly removed, and this jolly baby hold my hand, Jet2, take your holidays, £50 off per person, that's £200. See, I know it. £200 per family of four. it is just it's hot, it's awful. I mean, and Jet2 holidays, I'm sure, don't want to be associated with people being forcibly removed by handcuff and with their heads bowed and being forced onto aircraft. This is not good, and the person who wrote that is not happy.
No, I mean, it's just wild, and I'm still really just shocked by it, actually, because it's such a strange thing to do. I mean, we know the way that content's been used in terms of the way that the audio's been used, and the light-hearted nature, and the way it's been put over something so, well, the complete opposite of that. For the government in America, for the White House, it's just absolutely crazy. And as you say, then there's that brand association because it very specifically says Jet2. I mean, I think because the brand has built so much equity and that sound piece has been used so often, I don't necessarily think people, well, not in England at least, will put the two and two together. But I don't know how popular Jet2 is in America and in different countries. So it's a really awkward one. And obviously for, it was Jess Glynn, I believe, who actually sung the song. I'm sure I've seen information from her out on social media saying... I
thought she could ban the White House from using it.
I wonder how it works.
Unless she sold it to Jet2.
I don't actually know the ins and outs of that. I mean, I think that the fact that piece of that kind of trending audio has been used in lots of different places, I wonder how that impacts it. But the way it's been used kind of completely out of context and in such a negative way, it's a really interesting one, but a really shocking one as well. I just think, in England, I'm not saying that how our government do social media is how it should be done, but you can't imagine Keir Starmer doing anything like that, quite rightly.
No, but this is akin to Trump putting out all of that stuff about the Gaza Strip becoming Trump Towers or Trump gold statues to Donald Trump and things like that. It's the most extraordinary thing. But there's also a voiceover that says, when ICE books you a one-way Jet2 holiday to deportation, nothing beats it. And the person whose voice is being used to do that is somebody called Zoe Lister. And Zoe has asked what can be done about the White House using Jet2 sound and my voiceover to promote their nasty agenda. I mean, again, if they use AI to manufacture, if somebody was using my voice to be manufactured over something that I fundamentally disagreed with, what power would I have? I mean, it's really, it's not good.
No, and I think it's a bit of the world we live in today, thinking about the kind of AI side of it. We know about the deep fake concept where people can be kind of created not doing what they're doing at all, and the potential for that, and voice can be mimicked as well. So it does open a whole can of worms, and one I think that we're going to see quite a lot of developments on, because it's now become so much more accessible for so many more people to use it and utilize it.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy to do. I saw these images, though, today, and Birmingham really did turn out for Ozzy Osbourne as his cortege went past with his family and the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just so touching. I think that I've not been surprised, but almost surprised about the outpouring of affection for Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, I know that a lot of people loved him, and he did that concert recently that raised a huge amount of money for charity. And I think that has really sort of reminded people about how brilliant he was as an artist. But seeing how many people turned out for him, but also seeing that the family took that effort, they went through Birmingham, they visited Black Sabbath Bridge, they put down flowers, you could see the emotion. I think it was really respectful of the family, and they don't have to share these moments. But I thought it was a really lovely show of everyone's appreciation for each other and for Ozzy Osbourne and what he did for the world of music.
Yeah, it's interesting because there was a jazz band playing some of Ozzy's tunes. A lot of people said, oh, that's disrespectful. Other people saying, no, this is what Ozzy would have wanted. People shouting, Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. But it was slightly juxtaposed, wasn't it, with the grief from the family, who for them, clearly, this was their final goodbye. and it was slightly juxtaposed, but I think that they appreciated it because Kelly turned around and waved at the crowds, and to see so many people out on the streets, that must give us just a semblance of comfort.
Completely. I think you're quite right. It was sort of slightly strange having what sounded like quite a jolly band playing with everything that was happening. But I think that at the end of the day, I think if the family are happy with it, that's what you have to kind of go with, in my opinion. And it must have given them comfort. I think when we lose a loved one, it's horrific and heartbreaking. But when you can see how much they're loved by everybody else as well, they live on through lots of different people.
Absolutely.
So it
Absolutely.
slightly softens it, perhaps.
And poor Sharon, I just want to send her my love. She just looked absolutely broken. I mean, completely broken, being held up by her children, Jack and Kelly. And I just wanted to weep for her. I just thought she just looked as you would expect a widow to look, to be honest.
Completely. And I think we're so used to Sharon being such a strong figure as well. We've seen her through years and years, but the X Factor,
lots of controversies, and yeah.
And she's a force of nature. She really is. And to see
sweet, lovely woman.
Completely. And when you see someone who you've seen through the media as being strong and forceful with a heart of gold, in such a broken, sort of fragile state, like she looked bodily fragile as well as obviously all the emotion. It's really heartbreaking.
It really was. It really was. My heart absolutely went out to her. YouTube is now everybody's second media destination. My son doesn't watch anything through standard television or anything. He looks, if he wants to watch something, he'll look it up on YouTube, and there he goes. I'm not quite there yet.
I'm actually pretty close there, because I think the beauty of YouTube, and something that they've done so well, is you can find anything you want. The most niche hobby, the most random thing, how to fix the most random thing. There will be someone on YouTube who is
I love those. Yeah.
I love a how to fix thing.
I love it. That's how I fixed my dishwasher.
Absolutely. I fixed Hoovers before with vacuum cleaners by using YouTube. But I think that's the thing. There's something for everybody on there.
Yeah, it is great. And if there's a documentary that I've been advised to watch and I can't find it, it'll usually always be on YouTube somewhere. So it is brilliant, isn't it? And isn't the BBC trying to shake things up as well?
I think they were the first. They are the highest streaming one, aren't they? Because I know YouTube is second. It'll be really interesting.
BBC is still the highest streaming network.
I believe so, unless I've completely misread.
No, it says YouTube now second only to BBC as popular media destination.
It's a really interesting one, and I think it'll be more interesting as time goes on. YouTube has got such a huge following. I was reading earlier, I think it has 2.5 billion monthly active users, which is insane. And obviously the whole thing is it's built around you. If you open up your computer and put on YouTube, watched a video you liked, it would then be suggesting videos to you that would be completely different if I opened my computer and found a video I liked. It's looking at what you like and it's showing you more of it. So it's a personalized TV channel essentially. It's really hard to compete with if you're trying to put on content that appeals to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, apparently Generation Alpha, those are children aged between 4 and 15, turn to YouTube first, while people over the age of 55, which is clearly my age bracket, watching nearly twice as much YouTube as they did 2 years ago. Well, I can tell you who watches YouTube in my house at the moment. My dogs. I always put on Doggywood for them to watch when I go out.
I don't know about that.
It's a dog channel.
Oh, I'll run it past Indy, my dog tomorrow.
It's Doggywood, and it's all these dogs that go for walks, obviously in a wood and places, and you hear people calling their names, and it's just put that on when I go to work, and the boys can sit and watch that.
Oh, I love that. But doesn't that show like the breadth of the appeal of YouTube?
I can't believe I do that every night when I go out. But yeah, why not? Why not if they like it? And they also like Bluey, which I was told was a cartoon for children.
I thought
it was a cartoon for dogs.
No, I think it is more aimed at children. But
well,
if your dogs liked it...
Not in my house. Ria, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed, Ria Freeman there, author, PR and social media expert.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it is indeed Talk, and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And just a quick reminder that we have the fabulous John Boothman joining us at the top of the hour to go through the newspapers for Thursday, the front pages anyway. But joining me now is Adam French, who's head of news at Money Facts. Good to see you, Adam. How are you?
Evening, Petrie. I'm very good, thank you. I have a 3-year-old, so I was enjoying your conversation about Bluey a moment ago. It's sort of,
I thought it was just for dogs, but
no, it's taken over my life. YouTube, iPlayer, Disney Plus, wherever he can find Bluey, we end up watching it. So
yeah, one of my team's got a couple of young boys and had to go and meet Bluey the other day. So that's when I discovered it was actually for children. But there you go. Let's talk about spending money abroad. Best options to have, because if you are going on holiday, there's always that issue, isn't there? Even though we don't use cash in this country, we might feel safer taking cash with us to a foreign country.
Yeah, absolutely. This is holiday season after all. August has got here, the school holidays have started, and times are tight. We all want to save money when we're traveling, and actually the way you go about getting hold of cash to go abroad, or just the cards you choose to take with you, can make a huge difference to how much you actually have to spend on having fun and how much you end up spending in fees to banks instead. So one of the best options for spending money abroad is to look at the current account you've got, for example. So there are big banks like Lloyds, TSB, Halifax. If you have a current account with those, they could charge you up to 3% for every single ATM withdrawal you make. No. You could also be charged for using your cash, your card abroad as well, and getting some pretty crummy exchange fees too. So it pays to shop around. So alternatives like Monzo, Starling, I think First Direct have a really good account as well. That will be fee-free when you're abroad. So if you're racking up a lot of cash withdrawals, for example, that could be actually a really big saving whilst you're on holiday. So that's one of my top recommendations really, is to look at the current account you're using. So Starling and Monzo are two examples that really stand out, as you've got an app on your phone as well, so you can load up with money if you're abroad. You can manage your pots really effectively, and then you're avoiding those fees whilst you're out and about as well. So those are two good ones to look at.
Not a bad security idea either, is it? If you've got a separate account for your holiday funds, if you like, and then if your card does get nicked, at least they're not going to steal the mortgage out from your bank account.
So they're a really good option for having exactly that if you've got that spare account. And another option is a company called Wise. They do like a prepayment card, so you can top it up before you travel. They have around 40 different currencies you can load it with effectively. So wherever you're traveling in the world, there's every chance you'll be covered, and you effectively just load that up. So if something did happen to the card, the worst that happens is that the money on the card potentially is lost. But again, there's an app, you can lock the card, you can move the money back out again. So again, these are really good options that are just world apart from sort of 15, 20 years ago, when you were just stuck just getting a wedge of cash out and hoping that was budget enough for the entire holiday, or you didn't misplace it anywhere whilst you were traveling, which I've been guilty of in the past as well.
I mean, I think when I was traveling, it was traveller's checks.
Yeah, and you're stuck trying to change them somewhere where you can actually, hoping you don't lose the damn thing.
And if you lost them, that was it. That was all of your money gone. So I'm glad that they've come up with much better ways of doing that. I mean, of course, the holidays themselves are going to be really expensive now because it is the school holidays, isn't it? So shop around for that as well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the challenge. Thankfully, my Lennon's only 3 at the moment, so I haven't really hit upon these challenges just yet, but they are looming on the horizon somewhat. What do you do with the kids in August when you've still got to go to work, yet childcare is a real challenge? And I know people have been taking loads of time off work, for example, to try and look after the kids, the grandparents, whatever else, but one option is often school holiday clubs. They can be really good sociable way for the kids to spend a week or two during the summer, just giving you that respite. But they are expensive. So there's research out showing that you could be looking at around £1,000 over the summer holidays extra on holiday clubs, which is a lot of money when you consider everything else that's been going up in recent years. So there is one thing that can help, which I want to flag because it's desperately underutilised, tax-free childcare. So for every £8 you spend on childcare, the government will pay £2 extra on top of that, up to a cap of £2,000 a year. And as long as it's an approved childcare provider, you can use this service. The thing with this at the moment is there are 1.3 million families eligible to be able to use this tax-free childcare perk. Around 825,000 aren't using it at the moment. So it's massively underutilised, and it can make a big, big difference to how people are budgeting through August, trying to get through the school holidays. Often people think it's only if your child's in nursery that you can use this, but it's anything up to the age of 16. And actually there's even more money available if you have a disabled child as well. So it's well worth looking up the tax-free childcare scheme. If you have kids, you've got to keep entertained over the summer holidays.
And people, I mean, I didn't even know. I mean, I wouldn't now. My son is 28. I don't need to worry about that so much anymore. But
I don't know, August can be a long trying month at any age.
Yeah, I'm okay now, but I have been there. But it's 825,000 people of the 1.3 million eligible are not claiming it. Is it because they just don't know it exists?
Don't know it exists. So if it was bought in after your kids had left nursery, for example, then you may not know it exists at all. A lot of people have a misconception. Again, it's only for really young children, actually. It could be anything up to 16 as well. And then there's just that sort of bureaucracy complexity around it. You need to go onto the Gov website. You need to set up an account. You need to do the payment through that to get the money off. But it is well worth the legwork involved in that. I often like to think of these kind of tasks as it's probably the best salary you'll ever get for 10 to 15 minutes work. If it's going to save you £200, for example, 10 minutes work for 200 quid, I'd take that salary any day of the week. So it's often nice to think about things in those terms, and it becomes something you're much more willing to embrace doing the admin. And Lord knows I loathe admin, and it is worth doing. I do it every month for my little boy's nursery at the moment. We have to do this, so it is worth it.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely worth it. And it's just a shame, isn't it, that all of these things are available and people are just not told about it.
Yeah, free money. I mean, there's the amount of money that goes unclaimed is dizzying, to be honest.
Oh, it's higher than the amount of money that's fraudulently stolen, isn't it? The money that's unclaimed. We never talk about that.
Organisations like Turn to Us are often rolling that out as a clear call to action for people, like the amount that isn't being claimed by people across the board in terms of benefits and financial support available is just the amount going begging is staggering. But it's just knowing it exists, having the time to do that, especially if you're time poor, chasing kids around all summer. It's easier said than done to say, I know about all of the schemes available to me. But if you're actually ploughing through episodes of Bluey, it may be an opportunity to get the phone out and have a look.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just terrified of forms. I hate all that stuff. I'll do anything. I'll make a pact with the devil if I didn't have to fill in another form for the rest of my life. I hate
Sounds
doing
appealing.
It. Yeah, all that adulting stuff is like, oh, no. Savings inflation trap. How do we avoid that?
So this was a story from Money Facts a few days ago. And we crunched the numbers. So at Money Facts, we have access to all of the financial product data on the market around mortgages and savings. So we know what savings rates were like for the last 30 odd years now. And we can use that data to look at the kind of money you've missed out on since 2020, when we know inflation has gone absolutely bonkers and savings rates have not followed suit. The grim stat is if you had £1 saved in an average savings account for the last 5 years, its real-term spending power now is just 89 pence.
Well.
So you've effectively lost 11p, and that's with it earning interest in the savings account on average. It's not good news, to be perfectly honest, for anyone with savings at the moment. The good side is there are things you can do about it. Vote with your feet, most importantly. And I think this is a very pertinent reminder that just sticking your money in an account and forgetting about it is not the best way to go about building your wealth and your financial security as you go on. And I know we're all guilty of that. Again, it's admin, it's tedious, but it is easy money to be made just by moving your account to one of the best on the market, for example. So the average at the moment for a savings account is around 3.5%, and that's lower than the rate of inflation currently. You can get accounts that are more like 4.5%, or regular savers where you can deposit a small amount regularly. They're paying 7%. Wow. So you can actually earn considerably more money just by taking the fairly straightforward step of dedicating half an hour to moving your money to another account. And that can make a huge difference to the amount of money you've got tucked away. And it means it's growing, not shrinking in real terms. So that's a really, really important message for anyone with even just a few £100. If you're saving for a house deposit, you're saving for retirement, you're saving for that new car, you'll get there quicker if you shop around for the best savings account you can.
I am so envious of people like you and my producer Gabriella, who does all that kind of thing as well. I just stick my fingers in my ears and hope for the best, really.
I do as I say, not as I do, would be my lesson here. Because all of this stuff is easy. When you're fitting it in around the rest of life, it isn't easy, it isn't straightforward. No. But it's about priorities. And once you have that goal in mind,
yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely right. I mean, I've never, hearing all these really clever things that you can do, it just makes me go, I am so lazy, it's ridiculous. You've got about 20 seconds. Can you just warn us about this scam?
Yeah, I had a text the other day. It just said, "Hi, can we chat for a moment?" Didn't know who the number was. I had a quick look around on Reddit. Lots of other people had received this message. It is a scam. It's trying to get hold of your mobile number, bombard you with dodgy stuff. So if you get a message out of the blue saying, "Hi, can we chat for a moment?" I treat that with a degree of caution. It looks like every chance that's a scam, and I'll be posting about that online.
Brilliant. Tomorrow. Thank you for the warning. Adam, let's speak again soon. Adam French, Head of News at Money Fact.
My message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash, 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 smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People schmiggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would that... The people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The people smash... Those... The smash...
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, "I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source." Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. I do not accept that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Well, I'm sure the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer is on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute.
A across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good. It's good to have your company. It is Petrie here with you, and with me is the fabulous John Boothman, political correspondent at the Sunday Times in Scotland. And John, it's good to see you. I'm glad you haven't got bagpipes drowning out our conversation.
I'm beginning to think that Donald Trump thinks everywhere in Scotland's like that, that everywhere you go there's bagpipes drowning out all conversations.
That was really funny, I have to say. That Piper, hats off.
I'm a bit trumped out. I feel as if I've been following him around for the last 4 days.
Yeah, no, you have.
It's been pretty amazing.
So I think instead of looking at the American papers, I want to talk to you about Trump being in Scotland. That you'll be our American newspaper for today. So you were clearly, as a political correspondent, that's your job. You were following around what was it the National called him, 34-time felon, visit Scotland, leader of the GOP. Not even the word president mentioned.
It's been a pretty amazing kind of visit. You know, most of the politicians that you encounter in Britain, if they're going to do any media at all, are completely buttoned up. You know, they watch very carefully what they say. Everything's very nuanced. You have to read into, you know, what appear to be simple statements that they make to find, you know, that usually they're caveated with something or whatever. And you know, with Trump, it's completely different. You know, he sort of beguiled everybody the other day at the press event where he sat there for more than an hour with Keir Starmer, a very uncomfortable-looking Keir Starmer, and just shoots from the hip and answered every kind of question under the sun from, well, not quite what did you have for breakfast, but, you know, from things like that right through to the great big global issues that have a big effect on everything and everybody. So it's pretty amazing. He certainly seemed to me anyway to be on a bit of a charm offensive about Scotland. If I heard once, I heard, you know, a whole number of times how much he loved Scotland, how much his mother loved Scotland. His mother came from the Isle of Lewis and came here religiously every year with one of his two sisters to visit. That Turnberry was the most iconic golf resort in the whole world. The 36 holes that he now has in Aberdeenshire in the Many Estate are the best 36 holes in the whole world. That John Swinney, the First Minister of Scotland, is a terrific guy. He got John Swinney to stand up yesterday in the wee stand at the opening and said he's a terrific guy, in stark contrast to the relationship he's had.
They did not like each other, did they, the former First Minister?
Well, the two former First Ministers, you know, two of them, rather, Hamza Yusuf, he seemed to have forgotten about, but, you know, he didn't have the greatest relationship with Alex Salmond. I can remember Alex Salmond calling him a nincompoop and insults exchanged in the other way. When Nicola Sturgeon resigned, he said that, what was it, that she was a woke, it was good riddance to her. She was the worst of woke leaders that he'd come across and that kind of thing. And, you know, having praised Swinney to the hilt, you know, today on the plane back, in an aside, when asked about the visit, had another pop at Nicola Sturgeon. And again, and I'm sure John Swinney wouldn't be particularly pleased at this. Having had a pop at Nicola Sturgeon, I think John Swinney would rather Nicola Sturgeon had kept her own counsel, but Nicola Sturgeon's got to have a pop back at Trump. So, you know, as I say, he was on this remarkable charm offensive, I think, anyway. He had people, in reality, really kind of paying homage to him almost. I mean, this idea that a US president or a foreign leader, I mean, people were describing Starmer and John Swinney visiting Trump, which just kind of seemed kind of, you know, he was holding court in somebody else's country, and the leaders of these countries are coming to him. And you know, the fact that Ursula von der Leyen did the same, it was kind of really quite a sort of weird spectacle at the end of the day.
Well, I read an excellent article, actually, about Donald Trump being lauded, loving Scotland by a journalist called John Boothman.
Yeah.
It's a very good piece. First Minister of Scotland, because Donald Trump said, look, 6 months after I finished being president, I could be First Minister of Scotland. I could do that job.
Yeah, well, you know, I think we've said this before. You know, he's in an independent Scotland, he would be entitled to Scottish citizenship because of his mother. So, yeah, again, he was asked about this in the plane, and rather than dismiss it, of course, he said, well, when I finish up as president, yeah, he said, you know, it could happen.
Well, he has a very rosy view of Scotland. And I mean, I love Scotland. As you know, I'm half Scottish. My family are from there, from Ayrshire. But there's no crime in Scotland. There's no muggings in Scotland. You don't have people being hit over the head when they're not looking, and very specifically with a baseball bat. They're not pushed into a subway. It's a different kind of place. I had no idea that Scotland had turned into Shangri-La.
Well, I mean, Brigadoon, I think.
Brigadoon, yeah. I mean, no crime.
I mean, look, I come from Ayrshire as well, and I know that part of Ayrshire where Turnberry is, but it will be news to a whole load of people.
It really will be.
That there's no crime and there's no... To be fair to him, he was comparing it with the United States, right? Yeah, look, as I say, a charm offensive, right? I can't help thinking, you know, what is it he's after?
But, I mean, he said here as well, on the plane, I have a very good... Scotland has a very good First Minister right now, but Scotland, look, they don't have any crime.
Well, look, to be fair, crime figures are a lot better than they've been in the past, right? But
I mean, it just... I mean, why isn't that front page of the Times? That's what I want to know. Scotland, no crime. But the other thing is, though, that he seemed to like the Scottish press, because he was saying the Scottish the British press even, they've been absolutely brilliant to me. They've been absolutely wonderful, and even to the point where one of the journalists, I think, was caught. He shouldn't really have said this. Said to the presenter, "We must have been doing something wrong." Were people sucking up to Trump a bit? John, were you sucking up to Trump a bit much?
Look, it's what I said. That I think people were a bit beguiled and bemused by him.
You were a bit starstruck by the orange man.
I think some of them were, because I just think, you know, it's not what they expect when they are confronting politicians. Wasn't it anybody wasn't asking them any hard questions or whatever. I think also it has to be said that the comments, I think he did say that he thought the press were terrific. I think the comments were more in comparative terms rather than in absolute terms. I think he was kind of alluding to the fact that he doesn't really get a particularly good time with the American press.
Well, I don't think he gets a very good time with the Scottish press, and certainly not with the Scottish people. I mean, again, there were rumours that in every hole in his Tunbury golf course, a wee jobby had been excreted, I don't know what you say, dumped in each golf hole. Any truth to that?
Well, I don't know if that's true. There was too much security around for that to happen, right? But you know, I've been saying for the whole weekend, right? It's very clearly the case that Trump clearly does love Scotland, but the fact is Scotland doesn't particularly love him. No. So you know. Again, I've said this so many times, and I'll say it again. I've said it before. There is a real contrast here, though, going on, right? I think anyway, between how we treat Donald Trump in Scotland, and I'm not suggesting that perhaps we should go down this road, and the way that the Irish treat their presidents. You know, it doesn't matter who's been the president if they have an Irish connection or Irish heritage or whatever. They so many of them seem to have had that. If they go to Ireland, they are feted. There's a great hoo-ha created round about them. They're all terribly proud of them and stuff. And the fact is, I suspect, right, and I'm not wrong in this, that kind of people are a wee bit embarrassed in Scotland about Trump having Scottish heritage.
But also, I mean, that trip cost Scotland a lot of money. And a lot of people, I saw the Greens talking about this and saying, look, you know, this was a lot of taxpayers' money being spent on a security detail for this man to play golf.
You're talking about certainly the figure that was being bandied around by the protesters, and I have to say, right, objectively, although there were protests, the protests weren't as big, right, as I certainly expected them to be. But the figure that's been bandied around is 10 million quid. I mean, there's never really been security like it. Turnberry was like a fortified village. It was described in some of the papers in Scotland, the golf round that he had on Saturday, as the most expensive golf round in the world. There were like 24 army and police personnel ahead of him at every hole in the golf course, sweeping around in the gorse, not to find what, you know, you had suggested might be there, but to find, you know, anything dangerous that should have been there. There was a large fence round about the whole golf resort. You know, what was it? We had, I think, 6,000 police officers, including police officers from all over the UK and Northern Ireland by mutual aid. As far as paying for it goes, certainly it's the case that the Scottish Government are hoping that they won't have to foot the bill completely.
Oh, you want us to pay it?
Well, yeah, we want a contribution to be made.
Well, as long as you contribute when he's in Windsor. How about that?
Well, I was going to make this point, right? I mean, you know, well, we're going to have to do this all again in about 7 weeks' time,
I
right?
know.
And before that, we've got J.D. Vance and his family coming to the Cotswolds in Scotland. Cotswolds in England are probably coming to Scotland as well.
Just what this country needs is J.D. Vance. Just finally on the Trump visit, he was caught cheating at golf on his own golf course. Cheating.
Well, there was certainly a shot of a caddy going ahead of him and
dropping a ball in a convenient place outside of the bunker.
Yeah, I think, you know, given the number of television cameras that were there, I mean, there's some pretty spectacular sights round about that golf course, apart from the snipers and the great panoply of vehicles and checkpoints and everything else.
But he's got a reputation as a terrible cheat. A lot of people who play golf with him says he cheats like he wouldn't believe.
The thing that caught my eye, though, I was going to say, was the armoured golf carts. Which was like, I've never seen anything like that before. So, yeah, look. So, well, and this is, you know, you kind of get in a bit of a quandary. It certainly put Scotland brought Scotland to the world's attention for a few days, and there'll be more of that to come.
And now we know there is no crime in Scotland.
No crime in Scotland.
None at all.
No muggings.
Yeah, no muggings, nothing. Nothing. Particularly anything around baseball bats.
Yep.
Which is horribly specific. But there you go. Thank goodness for Donald Trump. Let's take a quick break, John, and we'll come back and start on the British papers.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. Good to have you on board. We've got John Boothman with us from Scotland, political correspondent at the Sunday Times there. The Guardian this Thursday is showing a picture there of Sharon Osbourne with her children, Jack and Kelly. She is broken, isn't she?
Yeah, look, very, very sad. Ozzy Osbourne, 73. You know, back to Birmingham, where he played only, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what was, well, really billed as his final concert. She looked terribly upset, and does in those pictures in The Guardian. And the other sister, Amy, there as well, the one you don't really hear about. And I think a very, very sad day for the family, and lots of people turning out in Birmingham to see one of their favourite sons. A lot of the papers saying it was the day that Ozzy Osbourne went home.
Yeah, I mean, the images there was so many people out on the streets of Birmingham, and I learned today that there is a Black Sabbath bridge, which I didn't know existed.
Yeah, well, that not something that I knew. Look, you know, a favourite son, you know, not everybody's taste in music, I don't think, Black Sabbath particularly, but, you know, it was a hugely liked character, I think, a really gregarious character, and I think that's what people liked about him. And, you know, there has been a bit around for the last few years about his decline, so there is a bit of sadness round about that. And again, that demonstrated, you know, quite widely in the streets of Birmingham today.
And like you said, that concert that he just did, which he said that he absolutely loved. He did 5 songs. He had to be seated and belted into the seat for the whole time because of his Parkinson's. And he also, I was reading, had to come off painkillers in order that he was sharp enough to be able to perform. But how amazing for him to be, you know, to get that final concert. A lot of people don't get that final show or that final moment, but he did get that, and his fans got that too, which is, I just think it's, if you were writing the end of a rock star's movie, that's probably how you'd write it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Look, I'm amazed still, having been to see some of them myself, the number of, you know, people in their 60s and their 70s who are on, you know, I don't know how many times they've done these concerts. I saw only a few weeks ago. We went to see Paul McCartney in Madrid before Christmas, but he's now embarking on another the same part of the Get Back tour in North America, having done, you know, Australasia.
He must be 80 now, McCartney, is he not?
I think that's right, yeah. I mean, it's just astonishing. I can remember we went to see the Rolling Stones at Murrayfield a few years ago. I mean, it's just how they keep going and going and going is astonishing.
I mean, on my days off, I'm in bed by 8 o'clock, John. I mean, that's me. All my pyjamas on, and there I am with the dogs. That's me. The other, a couple of other stories on the front page of The Guardian. Palestine Action wins their right to fight their ban in courts. This has been, they were prescribed a terrorist organisation. This is, that was placed against them. So now they've got a right to question that.
Yeah, I think the judge, in giving them leave to appeal against that prescription by the Home Secretary, labelling them a terrorist group, said that there was a risk that this provided considerable harm to the public interest and could have a chilling effect on legitimate free speech, political speech. I think, you know, it'll be quite interesting to see how this plays out. That, you know, the Palestine Action feel they've been singled out in all of this, and, you know, we won't have to wait long to see what's going to happen in that.
Yeah, well, at least there'll be more disclosure, presumably, as well, as to why they have been prescribed. The other story, striking BMA, that's the doctors' union, will lose the pay war, says streeting. The strike, of course, finished Wednesday, just on Wednesday morning. That was their first 5 days, but we've been warned, I don't know if it's the same in Scotland, but certainly here in England, that we could see a snowballing effect of strikes before Christmas.
Toughest language yet from West Streeting, and he's had some quite tough language today, you know, all about that demand for a 29% pay increase for what we're now calling resident doctors, junior doctors. Streeting saying that, you know, this doesn't just damage the reputation of doctors, it's obviously going to be damaging to patients. He's making the point that the government can't fix everything for everybody all at once, and particularly since it's only a year since this group of doctors were given a huge pay increase anyway.
Well, it's not even a year. Oh, yeah, just a year, isn't it? Because
sure,
yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. Because there was one of the first things that Labour did was to give them a 28.5% pay increase.
We don't have this issue in Scotland. We haven't had either. Over the course of the last, 3 years, 3 years, I think, any strikes by nurses or by doctors. Haven't had any of those. Actually, the Scottish Government, thanks really to the benefits of the Barnett formula,
you get more money per person.
A bit over the odds, certainly compared to England and all of these things. Something that the Scottish Government, you know, the SNP make that point quite a lot, but it certainly had the effect of averting any strikes.
Well, and also there's barely anything for doctors or nurses to do in Scotland because there's no crime. So, you know.
I think the issue that does cause concern in Scotland, certainly, you know, it's reported there was a big report in the past year from the IFS, was that whilst in some parts of the NHS in England that things were improving and performance was getting better, that actually that wasn't happening in Scotland.
Yeah, there's also significant issues, isn't there, with the NHS in Wales? We know as well that under a Labour government has been underperforming. Let's look at your sister paper now, John. The Times. Air traffic tech failure triggers UK flight chaos.
I mean, you know, we've not long had this. It's probably the worst time of the year. It sends out a hugely terrible signal internationally that, you know, we've had a glitch, a technical issue. I think I just heard just before we came on air a suggestion that it's an issue to do with radar, but no more than that. That's caused absolute chaos to the air traffic control system. It sparked demands as well that the CEO of the national NTS, the National Air Traffic Service, resign, not for the first time. You know, you have to ask yourself, right, why this kind of thing is happening. Is there no resilience in the system because of a lack of investment? You know, what is it that's going on here where a major part of our country's infrastructure in the middle of the summer holidays and its busiest time seems, even for a short time on a temporary basis, to fall over?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, it seems that it's just everywhere all at once as well. Why aren't they isolated patches even? I mean, you would imagine, I'm not technical, but I'm sure technical people know about isolating stuff. Yeah, that was fairly catastrophic, and they're saying that this, of course, it will have a knock-on effect for days and days now, because all the planes are in the wrong place and there's a backlog now. So you know, chaos, as you said, just as the schools break up for people going on a holiday. Interesting story again about Palestine. Palestine vow breaks the law, claims top lawyers. A letter signed by 40 peers sending a warning to Sir Keir Starmer that his government's pledge to recognise a Palestinian state risks breaking international law. France have just done it, and the breaking news for Wednesday is that Canada's just declared that they're going to recognise a Palestinian state. So what are they talking about?
So they seem to be talking about something called the Montevideo Convention that was passed in 1933, which says that a state must possess a permanent population, a defined territory, a government and the capacity to enter into relations with other states, and that Palestine doesn't fulfil that. I have
not
to
if
say,
not while Hamas is in government control. No.
Well, Hamas isn't Palestine itself. There is a Palestinian Authority.
Yeah, there is.
Based in the West Bank. I mean, I find this subject like wholly interesting. There's 147 of the 197 countries in the United Nations recognise Palestine as a state. As you say, France recently, with 14 other countries, said the same. Canada is recognised, says it's going to do the same as Britain tonight. I think we're still waiting in Australia and New Zealand. But look, this is something that most countries in the world, right, have signed up to. Look, that's not to say that these judges, of course, are not right, and it's a good story in the front page of the Times. Of course, it is. But we are kind of like. Again, I see people criticising Starmer's government somehow or other being out of step with history. I read some people on the Israeli side saying when actually this is where the world is at, rather than any position that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, do you watch Wednesday? Have you seen Wednesday, this programme? I really liked it. It's a Netflix comedy based on the Addams family, and the main character there, Wednesday, the young girl. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, we can see at the premiere of the second series.
I've seen the odd clip. I've seen the dancing clips that look fantastic.
It's really good.
But I haven't seen the film.
It's a TV series, and it's very silly.
Right.
But it is good. It's worth it.
I like TV series.
Somehow I can't see you watching it.
Right. Okay.
But prove me wrong. Have a look. I like it.
I'll have a look.
I like it. The Daily Mirror. Oh, bless her. There you go. There's a picture there of Sharon on the front there, just making a sign to the crowd. I saw her doing that live. She turned around and just made a tribute to her husband Ozzy at the packed farewell procession on Wednesday.
Look, I think it's just a nice touch, that headline in the middle of the page, the day Ozzy went home.
Yeah. Absolutely, and as you said, Amy, you can see there that the daughter that chose not to be in the Osbournes TV series, which is why and just shied away from the limelight. But poor Sharon, oh bless her, she does look absolutely broken, as you would imagine. Quick break, John, but we'll be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk, and it's Petrie with you. With me, John Boothman, political correspondent at the Sunday Times in Scotland. The Daily Mail, shame on you, Starmer.
Yeah, look, this is freed British Israeli hostages saying that shame on the Prime Minister that he shouldn't go anywhere near this recognition of a Palestinian state until every hostage is free. You know, if you look at this, you know, Starmer's kind of caught in the middle. He's getting criticised on this side of the fence by the Israelis, by you know, someone who was in captivity, who's a British citizen here. On the other hand, he's under immense pressure from his own backbenchers to do something about this. You know, he certainly put himself out on a limb with them, I think, very early on with his initial statements about Gaza and his support for Israel. And I think he's stepping back. He's trying, I think, to mobilise international opinion around not just this recognition of a Palestinian state, but somehow or other to put that whole two-state solution question back in the agenda, even though the Israelis have comprehensively rejected it. I heard David Miliband, who now runs an international charity, on Channel 4 News earlier, saying that obviously the big priority currently is that issue of aid and starvation in Gaza. Even President Trump acknowledged that the other day when he was in Scotland. And he said that he was trying to, in terms of the two-state solution, bring a defibrillator to it. He was trying to kickstart again the notion of a two-state solution, which I'm bound to say, you know, as somebody who's been a long-term watcher of what happens in that part of the world, given what's happening in the West Bank, given what's happening clearly in Gaza itself,
it's never been further away, has it?
It's never been further away.
It's never been further away.
I think one of the most interesting developments, and this is, I think, in the Financial Times and has been around all day, I was fascinated to see that the Saudi Arabians, the Saudis, Qatar and Egypt were calling on Hamas to disarm and disband today.
Yeah, to lay down their weapons and give up. Yeah,
it's the first time they've done that, and saying, as international opinion from everybody seems to agree, that Hamas should be no part of any government on the future of Palestine. So it's clear that some effort is being made at the end of the day, one on the recognition question, and two, to kickstart, you know, interest again in a two-state solution. But I'm bound to say the Israelis are rejecting that out of hand. Certainly Netanyahu is, and I don't think it will find really that much favour, both those things, with President Trump. Steve Witkoff, his special envoy, is going to Israel tomorrow. I think that's more about the humanitarian mission, and there seems to be some suggestion that he might end up going to Gaza as well. Now, I think if he's going to Gaza, it might be to see that aid, US-sponsored, Israeli-sponsored aid distribution effort. But look, everybody says that that's been a bit of apart from the Israelis, right?
Yeah.
That's been a disaster. Everybody says that welcome, though the airdrops of aid
so it literally a drop in the ocean.
It's not enough.
No.
And actually, unless the Israelis open up, you know, on the Rafah side and even on the Israeli side, you know, the opportunity of trucks, and these trucks would get looked at by the Israelis to make sure there is nothing untoward in any of them that, you know, can be used by Hamas, that these gates should be open in order to let these trucks in, and people who were previously trusted to distribute that aid be allowed to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, the other point I think worthy of mention when we talk about Keir Starmer and political pressure on him at the moment is also coming from the far left, as in Corbyn. You know, by recognising the Palestinian state, or at least suggesting that that's what he intends to do you think that he is trying to head off at the pass this ultra left-wing version of a party that Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn appears to be setting up at the moment?
I think there's 2 or 3 things at play there, Petrie. I think there is a big. I think if you were to go to the grassroots of the Labour Party itself, right, then you will find a lot of sympathy for the Palestinians. I think there's a Labour conference coming up. And the Labour conference is very famous for having lots of rows, so that'll be, at a political level, one of the things that's in the mind of Keir Starmer around about this. More widely, I don't know, I can't particularly remember the number, but I read today about, there's a significant number of constituencies in England in particular, where there are large numbers of Muslim voters, large numbers of people who will be of the public who will be particularly sympathetic to the Palestinians, and this will be and is an issue that is really, really very dear to their hearts. So I think that's yet another political element that's at play in any calculations that the Prime Minister might want to make. It's clearly also the case that there's a variety of different views among the ministers in his cabinet. That a lot of people, I think, around the higher echelons of the Labour Party might have wanted this recognition question, for example, to have happened before now. I think it was in the Labour Party manifesto last year. So, it's not the easiest place that Starmer finds himself in. And as I said earlier, it's not the easiest place he finds himself in the international stage on it either.
No, I mean, he must be beginning to hate his backbenchers, though. I think they're really giving him a run for his money. The Daily Express, this is an extraordinary story. New clues to the location of Moore's murder victim. This little boy, Keith Bennett, I think his mother died, didn't she, before he was ever discovered. In fact, he's still not discovered. But they think they found another clue.
I mean, look, you have to go back a very, very long time on this story. This was one of the most notorious set of murders in the early 1960s in Britain. Two child killers, really. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley were convicted, I think, of 3 victims when there were 5 victims. That investigation was reopened after they were in jail. And what this story in the Express is saying is that recently uncovered papers from Ian Brady's memoir suggests there's some leads that could finally pinpoint where Keith Bennett, one of the victims, was buried.
I mean, his image, John. I mean, as soon as you say the name Keith, that photograph of him pops immediately into my head. The slightly brown hue, a little boy in a jumper, blonde hair. I mean, it's got to be one of the most enduring photographs from as a victim of a murder.
And despite many years of trying on the part of the authorities, psychiatrists and everybody else, in order to try, as you say, you spoke about his mother, in order to try and end the agony and the uncertainty for his family round about this, about not being able to find the location of their child, to be able to bury that child, Brady refused to divulge where the body was. And, I can recall over the years, I mean, there's certainly been a number of attempts.
Even taking Hindley out there, didn't they?
That's right.
Hindley? I remember the images. It's on Saddleworth Moor, which is a vast area. She even said, look, I can't remember where we put them. But I hope that there is some closure, because Keith still does have family alive, just not tragically his mother, who died before finding out. But extraordinary, quite a surprise story, to see. But it's good stuff. The Daily Star, again, the Prince of Sadness is the headline. Sharon's tears for her Ozzy. Just again, that tragic photograph. The Metro again, Sharon's tears for her Ozzy, exactly the same headline, pretty much the same photographs as well. And again, a picture of Sharon's pain as she lays a rose for Ozzy. And his the car carrying his coffin there, John, with reminiscent of Princess Diana's car, where people just throwing roses onto the bonnet of the vehicle.
Again, just such a much loved figure.
Yeah.
And a lot of that to do with his illness in the end, to be fair. And he became a bit of an institution, really, for the British public. I think people were always pleased to see him.
Yeah, he was incredibly controversial. And the Sun again reflecting on Air We Go Again, which is talking about the air chaos created by some mechanical thing or some digital thing going wrong. The Daily Telegraph revealed the worst places in England to get prostate cancer.
This is a very interesting story. I think there's certainly been an increase in testing round about that whole issue of prostate cancer for men my age, right, to be honest. One of the things that actually I think was quite important in terms of raising the profile of prostate cancer was what happened with Sir Chris Hoy, who, as you'll remember, in the last couple of years announced that he had prostate cancer, and it wasn't. It was pretty well advanced. I think he seems to be doing well. I think he's got something at the Edinburgh Festival, book festival, maybe in the next couple of weeks. But there's a kind of this seems to be. I just wonder if there's like many things in the health service, there's a bit of a postcode lottery going on here, that some areas in the country will be very good for testing for this.
Yeah, they'll be proactive, won't they, and pushing out to all their patients of that age group and suggesting that they come in. And of course, King Charles shone a light on it as well, didn't he, with prostate cancer?
Yeah, and again, I think there's demands for a screening programme and stuff.
There really should be, because there is for breast cancer for women. I go and have my mammograms, whenever I'm called to do so, and they are talking about doing a similar thing. So I don't even have to do the admin, right? They just send me a letter. So there should be something like that for men.
I think also one of the things at Slate at Night, so I can say this, I don't think they need to stick their finger up your bum anymore.
No,
there's
a
blood test. And I think, again, for men of a certain age, right, in the past, I think there might even, despite the fact they would be worried about an illness or something, they might have been put off by that kind of thing.
Most definitely. Men have died from embarrassment. They've died from being too embarrassed to go forward for that exam. So they don't have to do that anymore.
So a simple blood test, I think, as I say, and that I think that's a way forward now. And this is just highlighting that some areas in the country are much, much worse than others.
Yeah, and just to say that for any of those men that have got any history of prostate cancer in their family, it doesn't matter what age you are, go and get yourself checked. And also any man, I think, over the age of 50 should really just ask your doctor if you can have that test. It could literally save your life, because it's one of those cancers that if it's caught early, and most are because of these screenings, it's completely survivable. So please do get yourself checked. I'm going to take a quick break, John, and we're back in just a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you, with me, John Boothman, political correspondent at the Sunday Times in Scotland, going through the front pages for Thursday's newspapers. And sticking with the Telegraph just for a moment, immigration fuels record population growth 2 years in a row.
Again, you know, this is a story that shouldn't surprise us. You know, in one way, we should be surprised that the population is still growing, given what's happened to the birth rate across the whole of the 4 nations of the UK. But all this goes to show that despite all the big talk that we get from politicians, that immigration, whether it's legal immigration or illegal immigration, is still rising. It's clearly the case that the government, this current government and the last government, introduced a whole series of measures, the current government introducing even more measures to actually bring this down, but doesn't seem to be working.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I can't remember how many times we've been told they're going to get the numbers down to the tens of thousands, and actually what we're looking at is 700,000 last year, and before that it was nearly 1 million came into the country. You know, when you look at net migration, we've only got about 400,000-500,000 leaving. So the net migration, it is climbing.
Yeah, and becoming increasingly a big issue, and a big issue, obviously, for reform. But I'm always fascinated to watch the polls, and it's clearly the case that over the past couple of years that having not been particularly high in the public's mind, or in terms of, you know, the political agenda, how quickly that issue's actually moved up the agenda. It's still behind, obviously, issues about the NHS, and it's still behind issues about the state of the economy. But, you know, it's rising up the agenda, and I think it will continue to be so.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Let's have a look at The Independent. And as you said, that story there, Arab nations urge Hamas to disarm and end Gaza rule. I mean, we have to remember that Hamas is much weakened, not just because of what Israel has been doing, but also because of their backers from Iran.
That's very certainly the case. Backing from Iran, obviously Iran supporting a whole other bunch of proxies, whether it be in the Yemen, whether it be in the Lebanon, and, you know, their influence obviously significantly waned, not just because of, you know, what's happened to their proxies, but also because of, you know, the recent attack on Iran by the
Israelis and Americans.
Israelis and the Americans,
yeah.
So I just think, you know, that is probably a hugely significant development, particularly with Saudi Arabia being involved, that if they are washing their hands of Hamas, and somehow or other that might lead us to a place where it's possible you could see the shape of some kind of peace proposal coming forward. But, you know, again, as I said earlier, as long as Netanyahu's there, as long as you've got the people around him that are in the Israeli government, with the things that they're doing. I mean, you know, I mentioned the West Bank earlier.
Yeah.
There's just a huge increase in the number of settlements now that's all been sanctioned.
Yeah, while everybody's looking towards the Gaza and Gaza Strip, what's going on in the West Bank is pretty disastrous as well. The thing is, John, that the naivety, even if let's just say for a moment that Hamas lay down its weapons and there is some kind of legitimate government that is allowed to rule by itself, there's no terrorism. This is a temporary moment. What has occurred between Israel and the Palestinian people has created hundreds of years of anger you know, the bombings, all of those things. And it goes both ways, right? I'm completely down the middle when I'm talking about this, is that hatred runs deep. So even if you've got a temporary hiatus of some kind of two-state solution, it will not hold. I mean, I'm saying the same thing. I've been saying the same thing about Bosnia with Serbia and Kosovo. There's so much hatred and so much history that any ceasefire forced by outside elements, as this one would be, is destined to fail.
I think, look, that's a pretty objective assessment, right, of where it's at. Somehow or other, though, I just think that there needs to be some hope round about something and something that can happen. You know, you've got 2.5 million people in Gaza. They are literally, except for the views of, you know, Netanyahu and his government, they are literally starving. Netanyahu denied today that there was a policy of starvation and denied that there was starvation. Even Donald Trump accepts now that that's not the case, that in the immediate terms something has to be done about that. We know what that something needs to be, but it ain't so far happening. There surely has to be some hope that there can be some kind of ceasefire.
I'm just a pragmatist when it comes to these things. But
there can be some kind of such ceasefire. Yeah. We're down to the last 20 hostages, some of whom may be dead, that can be returned, and somehow or other that you know, there can be some alleviation of the suffering of the Palestinians round about all of this, and then moving forward to, you know, where it can go next. I just think historically there were opportunities for some kind of solution. I think round about, I can remember you know, what happened with Rabin, for example, being shot by an extremist Israeli when, you know, there were big developments in the offing at that particular time, you know, and there have been other occasions people suggest that, you know, Arafat should have taken deals that were previously on the table, for example, when he was alive. So you just hope that there can be some sort of hope around. But you know, this is the politics of, you know, when you have the politics of two extremes, which we seem to be locked into, and for want of a better expression, two armed camps, then you really can't get very far.
Yeah, it's certainly, for as long as I can remember, it's just been, you just shake your head when you look at the region. Finally, the Queen of Scotland, J.K. Rowling.
I thought you were talking about Nicola Sturgeon again. No. Sorry. You're going to hear more of Nicola Sturgeon in the next few weeks when her book comes out.
Oh, great.
So that'll be
I need a new doorstop
for a lot of people. No, I like this story. I mean, there's an opinion piece in the Telegraph by Michael Deacon, which says at 60 years old, because it's her birthday tomorrow, I think. Wow. J.K. Rowling is a national hero. What have our spineless critics achieved, is what he says. Now, the reason that I'm interested in this story is that I suspect when we go into social media tomorrow morning, that people will see this story. It's going to generate quite a lot of comment.
Yes, I think it possibly will. I mean, talk about, you know, a situation that is, you know, has two camps. I mean, this is definitely it, isn't it? There's polar opposites. People that either love her or literally hate her. I don't think there's a grey area with J.K. Rowling, and of course this is because she's been very outspoken and very this line here, she has got guts. I mean, you've got to give that to her, whether you agree with her or not. She has stood up when others wouldn't.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's my recollection of J.K. Rowling, I mean, my kids, I consider myself very fortunate with this. You know, our two kids who are in their 20s, right, were brought up on well, it
Harry
would have
Potter.
been cassette recorders in the car, right, of Harry Potter stories, and you know, we've got all the books. We stood in queues to get the books, and frankly, you know, I think anyway that as far as that stuff goes, she did more for the education of a whole.
Oh,
load
she
of
got
young
kids.
people.
Yeah, she definitely got children reading and adults. I mean, I used to see adults reading the adult covered Harry Potter books. Anyway, John, it's really good to have your company. Thank you very much indeed. So J.K. Rowling, 60 years old on Thursday today. Right, I've got to take a little bit of a break, but after that break, what's going to happen is that you and I are going to have a conversation. This is a full hour of phone in, and what I want to talk about is this story here saying more than half of young Brits have considered leaving the country under Labour. Adults between 18 and 30 years old said they got serious concerns and they want to get out of Dodge. Have you ever thought of leaving the country? Perhaps you've already done it. Give me a call. I'd love to speak to you about this.
I have to say,
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. So, what do you think of this country? What do you think of Britain? What do you think of living here in Britain? I don't mind it, to be honest. And I travelled a lot. When I was younger. I don't travel now, I can't bear it. And Billy Connolly once said, the genius that is Billy Connolly, in I think it was an interview that he was giving, he once said that travelling narrows the mind, because he said whenever he was overseas, all he wanted to do was to get back home. And he was never happier than when he was at home. And I think I was away so much when I was younger that I love being at home. I love being at home. And home for me is Shepherd's Bush in West London. And I lived for a while in Australia. Loved Australia, but I couldn't live there permanently. It's too far away from everything. It really is. When you're there, you really sense that. It's like, you know, at least here in the UK, you feel like you're close enough to go to America or to go to Europe or to go anywhere, really. I loved my time in Australia. I lived in Germany for quite a few years as well. I've certainly worked in Germany for many, many years. But again, I was sort of travelling a lot while I was there. And there are only a couple of places in the world that I would choose to live. And one of them is Berlin. Oh, I love Berlin. I absolutely love Berlin. I love the German people. I love Berlin. It is so edgy. It's so cool. It's just cool. The other place that I, up until recently, I would have lived in was New York. Not America, but New York. I would have lived in New York. I wouldn't go there now at the moment. And London. So those would be Berlin, London, New York. So at the moment, London, Berlin. But if I was younger, would I go and live somewhere else? I might try Canada. I've always wanted to, see, with America, I've always wanted to break into American radio, to do speech radio in America. It's sort of just one of those things that, you know, as a broadcaster, you think, yeah, that'd be cool. But I don't suppose they'd want an English accent particularly. But but I think Canada now. I think Canada would be the place that I would be thinking about going and living in. What about you? Have you ever thought about leaving the country? So just that question, really. Have you ever thought about leaving Britain, wherever you are? Scotland? Well, it's no crime in Scotland, is there, according to Donald Trump? So why would you want to leave Scotland? But maybe you're in Scotland and you've thought, I'd like to go and, well, you could say you might want to come and live in England, which is great. But have you ever thought about moving to another country? And if you have, why? And which country would it be? So that's really what I want to talk about, because there's a story out that's saying a quarter of young people are considering emigrating from the UK. 1 in 4 young people is considering leaving the country, according to a poll. This is the Adam Smith Institute's nationally representative survey of 18 to 30-year-olds. They're a decent company, the Adam Smith Institute. It's a decent institute. You know, this is a proper research done. 30% of more than 1,300 young people surveyed earlier this month said they had briefly considered emigrating from the UK, but a third said they'd never thought about it. Would you leave the UK? And would you want to take your family with you? Have you left the UK? Have you already gone and lived somewhere else? Now, I went to these different countries to work, really. So I moved there not because I wanted to live in another country, but because that's where my work took me, especially with Germany. So I don't think I ever really thought about going and living in another country. I had the opportunity to stay in Australia if I wanted to. I had a company that wanted to sponsor me, but I wasn't quite. I was quite young. I'd been backpacking. I wasn't ready to settle in Australia. Did you leave to go and live in Spain? Did you go and live in France, in Germany? You know, and stayed there for a while and decided that, no, I do miss the UK. And I am a bit, there's no place like home. I am a bit Ruby Slippers about this country. And not because I haven't seen hundreds of different countries, but maybe because I've seen 100 different countries and I quite like this one. But do you think it's just a country you don't recognise anymore, you don't want to live in anymore? Maybe you're too old to move, but you would love to move. I don't think there's a country that would take me now, frankly. I'm probably the wrong age now. But where would you go? And if you are there, because I know we've got listeners in Thailand and places like that. Why did you leave the country? Why did you go and live in these countries? Are you happy there? After Brexit happened, did you have to come back? There's a lot of problems I know with people who are living in Spain. They're finding it very, very difficult to keep hold of their properties, etc. So are you now stuck in Britain but you don't want to be? You know, you've tried to move abroad and it didn't work. 0344 499 1000. You can message me as well on 87222. Put the word talk up front. And you can send a WhatsApp message as well on 0344 499 1000. There's a couple of messages that come through. Heather has said, my biggest dream is to live in Miami, Florida, America, my favourite place in the world. Ben has said, my wife is Canadian. She jumped through all the hoops to come here legally. Now we're considering moving back to her country. Canada is a beautiful country and we feel scared for the future of this country, both financially and physically. Taxing us to the hilt, importing different cultures en masse that don't align with Western culture, and knife crime and violent crime. It's becoming a dysfunctional place to live and we fear it's going to get worse. And that's from Ben in Derbyshire. That's really sad, isn't it? She's gone through all of that as a Canadian to come here, but at least you've got the opportunity, right? And your kids have got if you've got kids, have got the opportunity as well to go and live in another country and give it a go. Why not? Hi, we've had enough. In our late 60s, both worked all of our life and now emigrating to Australia to join our 2 sons and grandkids. They don't want us staying here. They don't feel it is safe anymore. We don't feel safe. No police, medical care in this country is being ruined. So we're off in November with our 5 dogs. And that's from Lynn in Yorkshire. Love your show. It's the best. Thank you. Well, hopefully you can keep listening when you're in Australia. But I'm not being rude. And I'm genuinely not being rude, but I thought Australians didn't want people in their 60s because of their healthcare costs. Or you don't get enough points. Because it's a point system, isn't it? So you get fewer points if you're older. Is that right? Just let me know. Or anybody else can let me know if they know. But I thought as you get older, Australia doesn't want you because of the burden you might place on the state. I could be wrong. I probably am. But give me a call. 0344 499 1000. David is in Chichester. Hello, David.
Oh, good evening to you, Petrie. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, no, I am, well, I'm in my mid-60s now.
Right.
But when I was younger, I actually moved to southern France, not the fashionable south of France, you know, Cannes or Saint-Tropez, but I moved to the slightly unfashionable end, which is down towards the Spanish frontier.
Right.
And I had 15 years there. And,
what did you do while you were there?
I did as little as possible. I was a bit of a lotus eater, actually, and I did have the odd job here and there, but I was what they call a boulevardier, to be honest, a bit of a flaneur, and you know, so I kind of jumped out of the rat race and just
swanned about for 15 years.
I did swan around in my white linen shirts and my baggy trousers and drink pasties all day, and
sounds fabulous.
Well, it did. It was fabulous until it all came to a crashing end. But that's all right. But I was listening to you saying how much you love Berlin, which I know too.
I love Berlin.
But I'll tell you a city that I also loved, and I'd put it on a par with Berlin, is Hamburg.
Yeah, no, I loved Hamburg. I like Munich too, but yeah, I did like Hamburg. But Berlin's got a special place in my heart. It really has.
Oh, right. Yeah, but I'll tell you where else I'm very fond of, and I've travelled there a great deal in my previous life, was to Poland, and I spent a lot of time. Oh my God! Well, I had a Polish girlfriend back in the Stone Age, and she was from Warsaw, but she actually worked for the State Tourist Office. This was just after the fall of the communist government.
Right.
So I'm talking about 1989.
That must have been fascinating to go to Poland at that time.
And it was a really interesting time.
Yeah.
And she got free access access to everywhere across the country. And she'd drive around we'd drive around her little Polski Fiat, and we'd go all the way down to the south, we'd go all the way up to the north, up to Danzig, or Gdańsk as it's called in Polish, and and down to Lublin, or down west to Poznan, east to Przemyśl, near the...
I would have loved to have done that at that time.
And we went all over. I loved it in those days. And of course, it was really old-fashioned then. It was really old.
Yeah, well, it would have been. I mean, this is one of the things I love about Berlin, is because of the wall. You've got the two sides of history. So on the eastern side, which is what it would have been like in a communist Poland, there was no development. Buildings were left as they were, but in Berlin, on the western side, a lot of those beautiful buildings have been knocked down, replaced by 1960s and 1970s blocks and things like that. And you've got both sides of it. I loved it.
Well, I was in Berlin when there were two Berlins, and I went to the east when I shouldn't have done, because I was a serviceman, and I got myself into a great deal of trouble.
Oh dear! You went through Checkpoint Charlie.
I did go through Checkpoint Charlie, Friedrichstrasse crossing, but I did get myself into trouble with our Soviet friends, because I was actually a serving British soldier at the time. And I went to the east, and I was escorted back, and I got into a lot of trouble with my own people. But that's actually 40-something years ago now. Wow. It was in the long time ago, long before the wall came down anyway. In fact, it was about 82. So it was 7 years before the Berlin Wall, because that came down on the 9th of November, 89.
89, it was, yeah. It was 89.
Yeah. But I remember East Berlin. It was a drab place. It looked like something out of the film Funeral in Berlin. It was, everything was pockmarked with bullet holes.
I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Just to what I found astonishing is the stark difference you turn left, you turn right, and the difference is unbelievable. I mean, it was just otherworldly to look at it like that.
There were sort of districts like Prenzlauer Berg, which had been virtually untouched by the bombing.
Oh,
and the war.
Beautiful.
And they've been really,
Prince-Lauenburg is absolutely stunning, and a friend of mine had a Prince-Lauenburg, and they've got some great restaurants there as well. But the buildings are beautiful because they were untouched, whereas in the West, a bit of modernisation, a bit of knocking down these beautiful buildings. It was such a shame, but it was so stark a difference. And the other thing that I found fascinating was that the wall, I always imagined it to be a straight wall. But of course, when you're in Berlin, it's everywhere.
It went down the west. Yes, it went down the west.
It was just wobbled around. Ridiculous.
But, I mean, there's a few lovely buildings in the west part of Berlin.
Oh,
I remember the Rotter's Rathaus, I think that was that Charlottenburg? I can't remember.
Charlottenburg,
what they call the Red Town Hall, which was a lovely Victorian building, which had survived. But some of the lovely streets like Leipziger Strasse and all that, they've been completely ruined by the war, and there was very little left of it. But of course, I used to go to Kranzler's Cafe on the Kudamm, down near the Kaiser Wilhelm Gedächtniskirche and all that. Do you remember all that? On Kurfürstendamm?
Yeah, I mean, I spent quite a long time in Berlin, and I really wish I had the opportunity to move there because I had a job. I worked for Deutsche Welle, and I kind of regret not doing it at the time because I could have got the most stunning apartment just in Prenzlauenburg.
Well, I don't know. You're obviously an intelligent woman, but I tell you, I'm a very big fan of the German Weimar artists of the time of the 20s, like Max Beckmann and George Grosz, Otto Dix, and they portrayed Berlin as this Weimar city of decadence and ruin after the First World War.
Yeah. But there had once been a lot of money in Berlin, right? I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't been back for so many years, but I must go back before I get too old.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I've got to go back. I've still got friends there. Why Chichester now?
Well, what happened was my family, well, actually they're Londoners originally, my family, but they all moved to Sussex donkeys years ago. And when I came back from France, I was living in a town called Béziers, actually. It was a rather lovely, very ancient city, actually. It was actually Phoenician, believe it or not. It was one of the oldest towns in France. And I came back, and my parents, well, they're both passed now, they've gone away. But I moved back here, and here I stay. And that's it. It's a lovely town. It's got a lovely history, and, it's got a beautiful core. It's got a beautiful cathedral. It's got some lovely Queen Anne buildings in the centre, and
you don't regret settling somewhere else in the world, but having travelled so much?
No, I didn't. I had a great life. I had a great. It all, as I say, it all came crashing down because what happened was I had a very, very lovely girlfriend, and she unfortunately contracted ovarian cancer.
Oh gosh.
A French girl, a French woman, and she passed away. And when she passed away, my sort of life came to a bit of a halt.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm going to try and sell the house, and I'm going to go back to England. And I did. It took me a year and a half to sell it, but I eventually came back to England. None the better for it. I really miss the Mediterranean. I really miss the diet, the sun,
Brexit would have ruined it. I mean, you were there in the days when there was all that easy travel.
It could have been in trouble for me. It could have been trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well, it's fascinating. I just love that part of the world. I'm so glad to share those memories with you, and Kreuzberg as well. I absolutely love it there. David in Chichester. So David is currently back in the UK, but have you thought about leaving the country and perhaps not coming back? Or maybe you're out there and you're wishing for baked beans and chips and you just can't get that where you are. I don't know. 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, it is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And we're talking about leaving the country and going to live in foreign lands. And there's a message here from Matt, who says, I live in Greece and I'd love to call in. Please do, Matt. The number, we call you straight back, by the way, or you can give us permission. Oh, we don't get the number, do we? We don't see the number. Do we see the numbers? We can. If you give us permission, we can just call you if you prefer. But Matt, please do call in. The number you need is 0344 499 1000. Like I said, that we will call you straight back. Or if you just send another text saying you've got permission to call me, we can just call you. Okay, just so that it's on our system. Now, Graham has called in from West Australia. I knew we had listeners out there. I knew it. Graham, good morning.
Hiya. Good morning, Petrie. Yes, it's 7:23 here in WA at the moment, but it's as cold as England. We're in our winter here, so it's pretty cold.
I remember when I lived in Melbourne, the nights in Melbourne were freezing. I didn't...
Oh, Melbourne's like, Melbourne's like 4 seasons in one day. It's horrible, Melbourne.
It's a great city.
Yeah, we're very hot over here, but we have like 2 months of like rain, and we actually had frost the other day for the first time in 17 years, I believe. So yeah, it was pretty cold the other day.
So tell me your story. Why did you go to Western Australia?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you can tell, I'm a Scouser. I'm from Liverpool. Me and my wife, and we just, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and we lived on the estate where the poor little boy got killed many years ago, Rhys Jones.
Oh gosh, the shooting. Yeah.
Shooting on Croxteth Park in Liverpool. So we lived there, and I just got made redundant from a massive telecoms company, but it was at the same time that Rover crashed in England, so it sort of like got swept under the carpet. So it was either to diversify into something totally different in work or move to London. And to be honest with you, I'd worked in London for 2 years, and I'm not being horrible, Petrie. I did not like it one little bit.
Fair enough.
So we basically were looking into coming to Australia, and then that was sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back when that happened on our estate. So we basically emigrated in 2010. It was we actually had the visa to come, a permanent residency visa, in 2007, but my wife got pregnant with our son, so it sort of like put the timeline out again. But we have come, and to anyone listening out there who's thinking about it, it's the greatest decision we've ever made. It's the best way of life. It's gorgeous. We have my children have such why I'm calling in, like I'm starting to re-listen to English programs and English TV, and me and my wife, we're absolutely shocked at what's happening back in Britain at the moment, and we're just so glad now, because we don't have these problems over here. We certainly don't have the boats problems like we did, and Tony Abbott put a stop to that, and we basically, it's just like the only thing me and my wife miss is we're both football fans, and my wife was an Everton season ticket holder and I was a Liverpool season ticket holder, and we just miss our football. That's the only thing we miss about England.
Wow.
Everything else, we have got a community here of ex-Poms, as the Aussies call us, and it's home away from home. It's just like my wife's job. She works in education, and her job's flown since she's come here. I've got a really good job. We lived in a 3-bedroom semi-detached in Liverpool, and now we've got a massive house. We're 5 minutes away from a beach. I've got an English pub round the corner. I can still have a pint of Tetley's if I want it. It's just a fabulous way of life.
Did you know anything about Australia? Had you ever been to Australia before you decided to live there?
No, not at all.
Crikey, that's a risk.
We were thinking of America first, and we couldn't. It was too hard to get into America. We've been to America a few times, and then we were thinking, we'll try Australia. And going back to your point before as well about the old people coming in, my wife's an only child, and her parents are here with us. Now, the way you get in after a certain age is you pay to come into Australia. So because we've got Medicare over here, which is basically the NHS, they obviously don't want to give away that free, so you pay a lump sum, and basically then you get citizenship. and then they're now Australian citizens.
Is that how much does it cost? How much does it cost to do that? Asking for a friend.
It was about $100,000, so about 60,000 British pounds. But if you think about that, no, for the both of them.
For the both of them. But once they'd sold their property, presumably they had the money to do that.
Oh well, we're selling property in Liverpool, so we're not talking London terms here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 20 quid.
Yeah, well, that'll probably get you 2 houses in Liverpool. No, as I say, it's obviously the people that come from down south. They come into Australia with a lot more of a base, should we say, because obviously they're selling their house for X amount more than we are in the north. But yeah, it's you can get the parents over. So my wife has got her parents here, so we've got a real strong family unit.
Nice.
You know, so it's great. It's, you know.
And your kids have only ever really known Australia then?
Yeah, my daughter was 2, my son was 4 months when we emigrated. So they were going to watch the Ashes in November here. So both of my kids are supporting Australia, which really hurts my soul. But
do you ever come back to the UK for a holiday, or do you not even bother to do that?
No, I've still got my dad passed away 8 years ago, but I've still got my mum in Liverpool. So I come 3 years ago, and to be perfectly honest, Petrie, it was a shambles. And because we come back and we were taking my mum, who's in her 80s, she's actually 86, and we took her to Blackpool, and she got really ill, and we took her to the local hospital when we had to literally emergency come back to Liverpool from Blackpool, and it was like 36 hours to see a doctor. We were like, oh my God, what has happened here? Yeah. It was a shambles. And like she ended up, she had double pneumonia, like, you know, she was literally like on death's door. But to see a doctor, it was like, wow. And like, you know, we've heard all these stories about the NHS, but to actually live it and to actually be in that bubble back again, it was horrible.
And you literally have no regrets. You don't miss anything.
Not
apart from the football.
Honestly, Petrie, the only thing I miss, hand on heart, is football. Me and my wife were both in bed last night talking about these situations, and we both said we would never go back. Even if someone offered us millions, we would never go back, because we've got such a great way of life, as I say, we don't have these worries what people have in the UK anymore. Like, as I say, coming from Liverpool, we had, like, you know, what we call in Liverpool the silly plastic gangs, and so my kids, now that they're 16 and 18, you know, they'd be involved in this, you know, stupidity, and like my kids have never even had a fight, like over here or nothing like that. Where for me growing up, I was constantly having fights in school and, you know, having to defend myself. And I'm not saying that Liverpool's a horrible place, because I defend my city to the hilt, and I love Liverpool to the bits. But I think Britain as a whole, it needs a complete change, and that's why I would never go back.
Oh gosh, so many questions. Would you want to eventually be buried in Australia? Because I think that's always a sign of where somebody thinks they belong.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, okay. As I say, yeah, 100%. I'd like a little bit of my ashes maybe scattered at Anfield, but maybe take a hand to Anfield. But
yeah. I don't think you can be that selective. Do your kids have Australian accents, or do they have a weird Liverpudlian?
No. Exactly. My son, who we come over, as I say, at 4 months old, he speaks Scouse. He speaks like me.
He does not, weird. Really?
Honestly, he does, yes. It's weird. We've got friends who are Scottish, and their children were born over here, and they speak Scottish. It's
That's
surreal.
Hilarious. I love that.
It's surreal. Where my daughter, she's listened to American TV her whole life, so she speaks with like a Yank accent. She's got a really strange accent.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing in Australia that I remember, that the television was pretty rubbish.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, we watch English TV all the time.
It's awful, isn't
awful.
it?
Yeah, we watch like British TV. We watch, we'll do like BritBox and ITVX and iPlayer and watch we were watching Silent Witness last night and Karen Perry the other day.
I was going to say, because Australian television, I love Australia, I love Australians, but the television there is
it's awful. And so is the radio, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Hence why I'm listening to Britain, because the radio is... We're shocked that, it's like, as I say, it's 7:30 in the morning here, and the local radio stations are proper Australian, and they'll start swearing, saying words, and we're still confronted with that, going, wow, they just swore on the radio.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, I just remember being very because as a broadcaster, of course, that would have been my chosen career in Oz, and I just thought I don't think I can do it here. There just wasn't the scope.
No, it's not the best. It's not the best. But yeah, as I say, if they're my only negatives,
absolutely. You don't miss baked beans or Heinz. Can you get Heinz
no, we
there?
get them over here. Yeah, we get all that. We get all that over
but
here.
But it's expensive.
We get all the... No, it's not too bad, to be honest. We go to the local shops. One weirdly is called Woolworths and one's called Coles. And we go in there, and they've got a British aisle, so you can go in and get British. We're slowly bringing more British stuff in. You can get Yorkshire puddings now at the supermarkets.
Well, you should be able to make them. I mean, that is just lazy.
Oh no, I'm burn water, Petrie. So no.
Well, Graham, I'm so thrilled that we've spoken, and that this programme can be your breakfast show. Well, at least for the next 20 minutes.
It is. Literally, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Well, send my love to your family, and I really look forward to talking to you again sometime.
No problem. I will ring in again. No
Graham, you're wonderful. I love the fact you've just got no Aussie accent after 16 years. I think that is stubborn, my friend.
As I say to all my Australian friends, I've got to teach them how to speak the real English.
Oh, you sound brilliant. No regret. 16 years in Oz and not a spot of an Australian accent. That is proper stubbornness, That's proper British. Going to take a quick break, but I'll be back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. This is Talk, and it's Petrie with you. We're talking about moving abroad, living abroad. Living in a different country, because a report has come out saying a quarter of young people have considered emigrating from the UK. It doesn't say where to, but it just says from the UK. And net migration shows that roughly 400,000 to 500,000 people in this country leave permanently. So they have, people are making that decision now, selling off their properties or, you know, terminating their leases and deciding enough's enough, I'm going to move. So have you ever considered moving? And if you have, where have you considered moving to and why? 0344 499 1000. Paul has sent this message in via voice note, and he's in Redditch.
Hey Petrie, just on the subject of where else would you want to live other than the UK? New Zealand for me, and that's where I'm going in October. And I can't wait to leave, because the state of this country right now, frankly, is getting too much and it's starting to depress me. New Zealand is beautiful, it's green, the people out there are amazing. I had the best time when I was last out there last year, back in March. I went out there for my birthday and I just fell in love with the place. It is what the UK was 10, 20 years ago, and I loved it, and I can't wait to get back out there.
Well, there you go. So that's Paul in Redditch heading off to New Zealand. I stayed in New Zealand for, I think, about 6-7 weeks in the South Island, and it is beautiful. It is really, really beautiful in New Zealand. But I have to be honest with you, I found it a little bit dull, for me. So I stopped there, stayed there for a while before I went to Australia. The thing that I remember when I was there was the greatest news story I've ever seen, and they were New Zealand was trying to make a point of clearing up all the weed that was grown in the country, right across both islands. And so they gathered up all this, they sent out people and cut all the weed down, dug it up, put it in a great big pile, I think it was in the North Island, and then they decided that they were going to fly it across the country, making it quite low level, and fly a big net underneath these helicopters, flying in tandem like this, with these huge nets of weed underneath the helicopters, to make a big show of it, going, we're going to burn all this, we're going to get rid of all of this weed. The only problem is that the weed had started seeding. Because it had been left drying on the ground for so long, that what they managed to do was seed both islands with cannabis. So you couldn't make this stuff up. And so from then on, people were going, well, if I've got plants in my garden, that's not my fault, is it? So I just remember that. It was absolutely brilliant. No, New Zealand is a fabulous. The Kiwis are great people, great people. Matt, we've got Matt from Zante in Greece. Matt, thank you so much for getting in touch. Tell me about your story going to Greece.
Oh, thank you very much, Petrie. Love your show, by the way.
Thank you.
Talk TV, that's a staple every day for us.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, my wife and I moved here about 8.5 years ago. Basically, I worked in mental health as a clinical team lead, and the situation got so bad. And I was a whistleblower, and I got annihilated. And there you go. So I resigned, and never looked back, to be honest.
Why Greece?
I don't know. Been there a few times, like on holidays, as most of us has been, and
so no connections.
Just really enjoyed it.
No connections there, no family there, no.
No, nothing. I think I remember,
wow,
having lived here for 8.5 years, the nationalism, in not a negative way, means so much. The Greeks have so many public holidays where they fly their flag with pride. And I just find that amazing. I find that so enlightening.
But that's very brave. Did you speak the language?
Badly. Yeah, I told someone I loved him, and I meant to just ask for the bill. So, yeah, I'm pretty pigeon, but yeah, it's kind of...
I love that. So, do you work? So you work in Greece, but is there a big English diaspora?
I sell my art, and I did the classic TEFL online when lockdown happened in the UK, that type of thing. So yeah. So
you're an artist.
Well, a very bad one. And I could be called an artist in a different place.
With a letter in front of it. So, how are you finding living there, though, and your wife? I mean, talk me through the process, because that would have been before Brexit, right? So you could just go.
Just literally before Brexit, and ironically, my wife and I both voted for Brexit. Which, in hindsight, probably...
Well, that's not very kind, is it? You vote Brexit, and then you're allowed to go off and leave the rest of us with it.
Exactly. So...
you need a slap.
The prices have increased, I guess. We've noticed that certainly in the supermarkets. You buy a pint of milk, and it used to be €2. It's now €3, for example. So... yeah, things have become a lot more expensive, to be honest. So.
And your wife, does your wife work there? I mean, so you just decided to up and leave. Why this particular area in Greece? Again, you just liked it?
It was literally random. I mean, I thought I'd been here before, but I hadn't been. I'd been to the island next door.
It's a miracle you managed to put your own trousers on in the morning.
Exactly, yeah, well, I put them on backwards, mate. So, yeah, no, but it was literally put a pin in a map, and there you go, and it was kind of those, and just take a risk. Just take a risk and see what happens.
That is brave. And what did you first move into?
Oh, a horrible little place,
really?
Yeah, and then we graduated. Slowly but surely, we've kind of graduated. But yeah, it was an experience to be there.
But that is still, I mean, that is admirable. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to do that. Not really speaking the language. Yeah.
I think kind of you go with the flow and you just do it. It's kind of one of those things that when you've had enough of the UK and everything that's going on at the moment, it's kind of one of those.
And how come you're allowed to stay there, or are you phoning me from under a bucket somewhere?
No, I have got a dodgy IPTV box, but we won't talk about that. But, no, I'm not phoning under a bucket. We went through the process.
All right.
We got in just before Brexit.
Wow.
And so then you have to apply for a residency card. Bit like an ID card, biometric, and then they're trying to bring it in the UK at the moment, and we've got a 10-year residency now, so we're not under the Schengen law, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we can come and go as we please. So,
that's brilliant. And any plans to come back to Britain?
Well, for 10 days in October, yeah.
That's it. That's all we get you for.
Oh, yeah, that's all you'd want me for.
But what is it about Greece, then? Is it just the way of life? It's much more laid back?
I just think it's all I see every day. We live in a small village, and all we see is goats and chickens every day, pretty much. And that suits me. They're probably more intelligent than me, and they're a bit faster. So...
just tell them you love them. See what happens.
I'm just like one of those who looks at them and just goes, oh, there's a chicken.
And what about your wife? What does she do there? Does she work?
Well, apart from hating me, she does work for a wedding planner, yeah. So she's got a really good career here, yeah. And bright and beautiful weddings in Zante. And yeah, she does the budgets for them and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It does sound pretty idyllic, and there's no regrets.
It's what it is. I would hate to come across as negative about the UK, because I am so proud to be English and so proud of our country. But it is kind of nicer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are there many Brits around? Have you got, or do you just sit and drink coffee with the Greeks?
Well, I like a frappe. However, yeah, we kind of we do sit around a lot and do a lot of talking and not a lot of anything else, to be honest. So yeah,
That sounds like the perfect lazy person place to go.
it is. I procrastinate over everything. Yeah.
Oh, I love it, Matt. It's so good to talk to you. Thank you, and
you, yeah.
honestly, thank you.
Such an amazing TV programme. Thank you.
Oh well, thank you, and thank you for being part of it. And do call again, won't you?
Yeah, well, if I can get through.
If you can be bothered, you know. I mean, I understand.
If I'm not procrastinating.
Yeah. You're the only person that has texted and said, "Yeah, I'd like to phone in," but just didn't. So
yeah, exactly. It was like, I'll do it later.
Yeah, Greece sounds like the perfect place for you. Oh, it's lovely to talk to you, Matt. Thank you. I've got to take a quick break, but I will be back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. It is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until the top of the hour. Got loads of messages I want to read for you. Thank you for sending them in. Mark from Norwich says, I've thought about moving abroad lots, but only when I've been asleep in blissful dreams. Unfortunately, I'm stuck here in real life because of my family and commitments. So for me, it's sleepless nights and feeling mentally drained for the next 4 years until we can get Starmer out. So there you go. That's Mark in Norwich. Philip has said, I've always thought that the Lake District is the most beautiful place in the world. I think it is a very, very beautiful place. Angie says, no thought about emigrating, but in the 60s, my parents looked into the £10 POM scheme to Oz, and that's when Australia were desperate to get British people across, so they offered tickets for £10 to go to emigrate. Looking back, yes, the lifestyle, etc., would have been great, but in recent years, post and including COVID, they're the same tyrannical regimes as we've got in the UK. Yeah. And Laurie said, I'm a legal immigrant from Oz to the UK. I've travelled and I have a master's degree, yet I feel my accomplishments are not taken seriously because there is a prejudice still that Australians are lesser than. Really? Oh, that's sad if that is true. Sam said, oh, thank you for the compliment. We're looking to be moving ASAP. We looked at abroad, but decided against it for now. Better the devil you know, etc. However, we will be moving out of England no matter what. And that's from Samantha in Lancashire. Mark, I lived in the west coast of Gambia for 17 years. Came back last year, going back for good next year. That's from Mooj. But goodness me. The reason they're leaving is because they can see that at this rate it won't be a home. All of my uni mates from the 1990s have already left. Oh gosh. Gary said, leaving the UK, if I won the lottery, then it's not a decision I would take long to make. The first thing I'd do is look at Spanish coastal homes to buy. I don't recognise the UK right now, especially over the past 10 years. I wholeheartedly blame UK governments, past and present. I'd love to leave. And that's from Gary in Glasgow. It's interesting, isn't it, that people say they want to leave Britain because it no longer represents the Britain of 10 years ago, but by leaving they're going to a country which has never represented Britain. I just find that interesting. So you're going, I don't like Britain because it's not Britain anymore, so I'll go and live in Spain, or I'll go and live in Greece, or I'll go and live in Australia. Heather says, my great-grandmother was born in Ayr in South Ayrshire, on the west coast of Scotland, and I live in Girvan in South Ayrshire. It's a beautiful part of Scotland, and it's my Scottish paradise, and I'm happy here in Girvan, and I'm home here. Yeah, Ayrshire is where my family come. We're part of the Lindsay clan of Ayrshire. There's a castle there that should have been mine, but my stupid family had all girls, so it went to a cousin. That's, you know, tragedy of my life, that is. If I could leave, this is from Donovan in Bristol, if I could leave Britain, the place I'd love to move to is the US, well, even now, because they have control of immigration. That's probably the reason you wouldn't get to live there, though, to be fair. The reason why America is so successful is America puts America first, which is something that we are not doing over here, and something that we lack. Even the President of America said that if we don't keep control of immigration, we're going to lose our culture. And I do strongly feel that in about 15 years' time or so, we're going to be an Islamic State. I don't see that. But, you know, that's your view. And this one, just before I go to a call, I'm 53 and my wife is 45. We will sell up and leave the UK as soon as possible. My daughter, 18, will also, under my advice, and if she has any sense, leave the UK as soon as she possibly can. Britain is dying. There is no longer any return. Labour will see to that before we can oust them. And that's from Matt in Staffordshire. So there you go. There is another message there, it's quite a long one. Ooh. Oh, Max has said, can't wait to move out next week and can't wait to be in Spain in August. Crikey. Paul is in Bolton. Hello, Paul.
Hiya, Petrie. I couldn't agree with you more, what you just said. It just seems so strange to me that people are wanting to leave this country, I presume in a lot of cases because of immigration and that.
And they want to become immigrants.
And then they want to not only become immigrants, but go in and live in countries where there's a lot more of the people that they don't want to be amongst here.
I know. It is an odd. It's a really odd mixture, isn't it? It's a very odd decision to make in that way. Yeah. But I suppose if they're moving to a culture that they prefer or they think they're going to prefer, then I don't know.
Well, I don't think the grass is greener, and I'm actually one of them people. I ring up this channel as someone a bit more towards the left and all that, and I'm one of these people that doesn't do all the flag waving and all that, but I think it'd take a lot for me to want to leave my own country, and especially Manchester, because I'm very patriotic about Manchester, but I won't want to leave, and like I said, I'm not like these people who are saying they're patriotic, but then they'll leave the country just like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just so I love my country. I mean, one of the reasons that keeps me here is obviously family, friends, and all that kind of thing. But then I love British theatre, and there's lots of things I love about my country. I'm not into the stereotypical patriotic things, but I'm into other things. And like I said, I just don't think the grass is greener to leave Manchester, let alone the country. But if there was a small chance I'd go anywhere, it would probably be a Mediterranean country because, and to be honest,
but maybe for 6 months of the year or 4 months of the year or something like that.
That'd be perfect, just winning, like, having enough money to have some sort of holiday home to go there and base yourself between two countries. And I don't agree with them, and obviously I don't agree with the people who are wanting to leave because of all this immigration and that the same. But if people are going to places like Spain and then that's slightly different to going to Gambia, do you know what I mean? Because, like, in Spain, there is probably a large mix of expats nowadays as well, isn't there? But I mean, I have nothing against.
Well, I mean, and anywhere in Europe has got a migration issue, an asylum seeker migration. We know everywhere in Europe has that problem. But people always do view things, don't they, through rose-coloured glasses. Yeah, and then they get there and find, well, actually, it's perhaps not as good. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd want to live anywhere else. And I, you love Manchester or Bolton or wherever you are, and I couldn't even live